Today we're going to talk about how to construct this little beach bag constructed out of vinyl mesh and jelly vinyl with some fun 1.5" strapping. The thing I love about this is it's very simple, straightforward. You don't have any stabilizer you have to be concerned with. The jelly vinyl, you can leave raw edges and there's no unraveling. With the placement of the straps, you end up with 6 nice little pockets, and then inside the bottom is the mesh, easy to clean up, easy to construct. So let's go to work. First of all, cut all your pieces as specified in the pattern. You'll have your piece of vinyl mesh, then you'll have your pieces for the pockets, pieces for the top trim. Some helpful things as you work are the clover clips. They'll help hold some of your pieces in place. The other thing that's very helpful is double-sided tape. Bowen makes a double-sided tape and Dritz. I like the 1/4 inch. It also comes in at 1/8 inch. You'll need a marking pencil that's erasable, like the friction pencils, or I like the chalk too. You'll see when we look at my markings that I've placed that I've used a dark marker for the purpose of sharing my ideas with you. When you begin the assembly, you'll start with your trim piece and mark a line down the middle of it, because the next thing that we'll do is fold it in half and just finger press. You'll line up the line that you marked. You'll line up with the top edge of your mesh, and then use clover clips all the way across to hold it in place, or use double-sided tape. Okay. So it will look like this. You'll have half of that trim on the inside, half on the outside. Then we're going to go to the sewing machine and sew 1/4 inch from this edge. Alternatively, instead of using the clover clips, you can use double-sided tape. And I've applied the tape to both sides of my mesh, and then you just remove the back and then line that line up with the top edge of your mesh. Fold it over and adhere it on one side, and then you'll flip it and adhere it on the other side. And this is actually immensely helpful in keeping that vinyl in place as you sew. As you turn the vinyl and adhere the jelly vinyl to the tape, you might decide that you want to use clover clips just to keep it just a little more secure, until which time you sew that seam. So we have our trim pieces sewn on both ends. This ultimately will be the top of the bag. Next, we are going to draw some lines that will help us know where to place our pockets and stitch them on. So you'll draw a line down the center of your large mesh piece, and then 2 lines parallel with line A, center line, 2 lines parallel with the specified distance as shown in the pattern. And those 2 lines will be called B. And that will be where you will want the bottom of your pocket to be lined up. When they're lined up, you can use some double-sided tape along the bottom or use clips on the side to help secure them. But then go to the machine and we're going to stitch across the bottom of the pocket and the sides. Leave the top open, of course. Okay, so we've secured our pockets to our mesh, and now we're going to make some marks that will help us create a box bottom so that you have a nice flat bottom for your bag. So as pattern indicates, draw a rectangle, and we'll call that rectangle D. Next, we're going to draw some lines to help us with the placement of our straps. You'll use a marking pencil and a straight edge, and as the pattern indicates, draw those lines, 2 lines, the entire length of your mesh piece. So, marking that long line to help us with strap placement. I've prepared my strap already. We'll sew it together with about a 1-inch seam allowance there, okay? And then that creates one great big loop. On the other end, opposite this seam, draw a line. And that is going to help us line up the strap placement. So the center line that we drew, that we called A, we're going to lay the seam of our strap on that line A. And the line that we drew, the opposite side of the seam, will lay on there as well. Be sure that you're lining up the inside edge of your strap with your line. So place the seam of your strap on line C, where line C intersects with line A, and you'll want the inside edge of your strap to line up on that line C. And this is a really good time to use double-sided tape the entire length to help secure that. I have placed double-sided tape adjacent just inside of that line C, and that will help hold our strap while we sew it. Okay, I've used my double-sided tape and taped down my strap. And so next, I'll go to the sewing machine and sew. Now, you'll start at the top, sew across right at the jelly vinyl, and then go all the way to the other end, sew across and back up the other side. After that, do a second row right at the jelly vinyl, right at the jelly vinyl trim there, just for reinforcement. And then you'll secure the other strap, again, starting at the top, go all the way around and back. Make sure you double stitch at the beginning and end. Okay, I've sewn all the way around my straps, and just like that, we've created some pockets. The next thing you want to do is cut out those D rectangles that you created before. That is going to help us create that nice box bottom for your bag. Just using a scissors and just cut out that D rectangle. Okay. So then your bag should look something like this, with those rectangles cut out. Next, we'll do the side seams. So match up your side seams and using clover clips to help secure it, and then make that seam as specified in the pattern. So with right sides together, we're matching up those side seams, and then we'll go to the machine and stitch this side and this side just to this point. Leave the cutout rectangle alone. Okay, so you've sewn your side seams, and after you do the straight seam, then do a zigzag stitch along there just to bind up those raw edges with stitch length and width specified in the pattern. So next, we're ready to box up this bottom. And again, clover clips will be your friend in this. So you're going to this center seam here, and that line A that we drew initially, you'll line that up together. Use your clover clips, and then you'll do a stitch across there, straight seam, and then again zigzag it afterwards. If by chance it's a little kittywampus, the seam is deep enough that you'll correct that. So don't worry, get it as square as you can and make that seam. Okay, so we've sewn our bottom seams. Okay, then we'll turn our bag right side out because we have 2 more seams to do. We're going to create a French seam on the outside top, and that seam will just extend from the top of the trim to the top of the pocket. So a French seam simply means that we're going to sew a seam on the outside to encase that inside seam. And so you'll stitch from here to the top of the pocket. Back stitch at the top and the bottom. Stop just above your pocket. I like to add that French seam because it just gives it a little bit more structure, a little bit more sturdy. And there you have it. Easy tote for the beach. Put your flip-flops, sunglasses, sunscreen, and because it's mesh, you can shake it out so easily. If you get a little sand in there, take it to the pool, take it for an overnighter. Use it for a carry-on on your next trip. Really easy to put together. And when you see all the fun colors that we have in the vinyl mesh and the jelly vinyl, you're gonna want to make more. So enjoy. Thanks for watching.